to the Honor It All podcast. I'm Honor Garrett, your host, and we're here to honor all that is good in the world. Each podcast, I interview top professionals around the globe who are making a difference, impacting lives, and creating positive change. Today, we have Brianna Greenspan, known to many of you as the key moderator for the Miracle Morning Room on Clubhouse. But she is that and so much more. Brianna is a chronic illness advocate, mentor for teens and young adults with chronic illnesses, an author and genetics consultant for Gene by Gene, a genetic testing company based in Houston, Texas. But what I think makes Brianna so amazing is her unique gift to make everyone she meets feel special. I'm so honored to have you here with me today, Brianna, as a part of the Honor It All podcast. Welcome. How are you?
Oh, I am so honored to be here, Honor. I'm wonderful. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. And I guess you're in Texas, right?
I am in Texas.
Yeah. Is it beautiful there?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is. It is beautiful and hot.
I'm on the East Coast and it's rainy, but you know what? That's why I'm glad I'm inside talking with you. So first, I want our listeners to really get to know you. Could you share a little bit of your background and really how did you get involved with the Miracle Morning and what the heck is it for those who don't know?
Oh my gosh, it's such a good question. So what is the Miracle Morning? First of all, the Miracle Morning is a set of practices that you can incorporate into your morning routine. So in the first waking hours of your day, like the first 10 minutes, the first 20 minutes, the first hour, whatever it is that feels good to you, and it could shift every day, incorporating powerful habit stacking. And so the Miracle Morning practices are centered around what we call the Life-Savers, and they stand for silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. And one of the things that I absolutely love about the Miracle Morning is that 13 years ago, I was first introduced to this concept by my dear friend Hal Elrod, who is the creator and author of the Miracle Morning book and book series and documentary and entire global movement. And he came to me and he said, hey, what if you woke up earlier than you normally would and started trying out incorporating powerful practices into your morning routine? And I said, absolutely not. Thank you so much for the suggestion. I have no interest in that. And, we went back and forth and he kind of started to unpack why I was so disinterested in a morning routine. And I started to explain how my entire life, I've grown up with some really complex chronic situations. And as a result, when I wake up in the morning, I often would feel really unwell. And so every day was a little bit different, but I had no idea what kind of symptoms were going to be happening. And the first few hours, not just the first waking moments, but the first few hours of my day were a huge struggle just to be able to get out of bed to get dressed or brush my teeth or go to the bathroom, which are seemingly simple tasks. And so someone saying, hey, you should have a robust morning routine. I was like, that's crazy, dude.
Not sure that's going to happen, right?
No, I was a hard no. And, in the midst of our conversation, he said, what if you changed the way that you showed up to your life? And as a result, it changed the experience that you had in life. And I was kind of blown away. Like what? This was like a huge light bulb moment. I was like, this should be a meme. What if we changed the way we showed up to life and it changed the way we experienced life? And so from that moment, I said, I'm a yes, I want to try this. I'll try it tomorrow. And within the first day of me doing what we call the Life-Savers, I had this deep visualization that I would probably never spend another 24 hours in bed or in a hospital ever again. What was so transformative is that in this visualization, I saw myself being strong. I saw myself being a completely different version of who I was at that moment. And so I called Hal and I said, oh my gosh, there's something to this. I really think that the Miracle Morning should be everywhere. We should tell everyone. And at that point, it was a nothing. There was no book. There was no movement. There was no anything.
Oh, there wasn't a book yet?
No, oh my God, the book
wow.
came 5 years later. There was no move, there was nothing. There was no Facebook group. There was literally nothing. It was just like Hal and his pals getting up early. And I get this phone call from him one day and he said, "Who the heck is Joe?" I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Look at this YouTube video." And he sends me this video of this guy that I knew. And this guy had made a video of his miracle morning. And it's one of the first chapters of the Miracle Morning book. It's called Who the Heck is Joe? And this guy is the first community member of the Miracle Morning. And Hal called me to say, "You told Joe about the Miracle Morning and he made a video." And what transpired from there was mind-blowing because hundreds of thousands of people ended up making videos of their morning routine. Eventually there was a book. Eventually it became a bestseller. Eventually, it went across the globe. And now there's millions of people who are waking up to their full potential every day. And it's been the most game-changing and life-changing experience of my whole life. So I'm like a super fan of the Miracle Morning. I love the book. I love sharing the practices with other people. And it's really been transformative for my own personal health journey.
Well, I'll tell you, for anybody who is on Clubhouse, or if you're not on Clubhouse and you get on Clubhouse, you should, just to see or hear Brianna. She is so inspiring. She's a great way to start your morning. And it's just called the Miracle Morning Room. So make sure to follow her. And I'll tell you, as a health, life, and mindset coach, physical and mental wellness is really always a topic of interest for me. And just helping people navigate their health journey. And like you mentioned briefly before in the question I just asked, that you have struggled with some health issues of your own and you've had quite a journey. Do you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of complicated where the first 20 years of my life were drastically different than the last 13, in the sense that I really struggled to be able to walk, talk, see, hear, and breathe all at the same time. And so there were just like so many symptoms and they were all happening simultaneously. And so there was just a lot of dislocations, a lot of throwing up, so many doctor's appointments, so many specialists, so many assistive devices, so many medications, so many suggestions and labels, yet none of them actually took the pain or challenges or symptoms away. And so it was just like this cycle of chaos. And I didn't really recognize that there was any other way that I could experience life until I lost the ability to walk and eventually went through and met someone just like you and went through this amazing therapy program where I relearned to walk again. Wow. And that was kind of a turning point because it was the first time that I asked myself, could there be something out there, a ritual, a habit, a modality, a therapy? Could there be something out there for this to support every symptom I was experiencing? And maybe I could retire shots and pills and braces and assistive devices and all these things if I could find them. And so my childhood was just riddled with so many labels and complications. And the last 13 years, I'm not going to say that the Miracle Morning and these rituals and habits made all of these things go away, but it radically transformed the way that I show up to life. When I have symptoms, I'm able to handle them in a completely different way. And so, there have been times where I've had a seizure on the show. And you guys, the show didn't stop. You guys didn't even know. There have been times that I've been throwing a lot of chaos. There's some times that I'm not well in the morning. It still happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
But back in the day, that would take me out all day. I mean, I wouldn't say I would use it as an excuse, but I'd really be knocked down for a long time. And it would take me hours or days to pick myself back up when I'd have these chaotic symptoms come about. But it's because of mindset and the way that I've, started to amass all of these different practices that I can shorten the duration of any symptom that comes about. So now, I'm not going to say that all my illnesses have gone away, but I'm a completely different person than I was before.
That's so profound, and really looking at mindset and perspective and shifting, because honestly, we have a choice in this world. You're either a victim or the victor, and we get to choose. We can't always choose what the circumstances or what happens to us, but we can certainly be the one who decides how we respond. So, how important is your mindset and how you approach life?
Mindset is the most important thing for me personally, because I mean, I don't think that I even understood what a positive mindset or a growth mindset was 13 years ago. And so the moment that I first was exposed to checking myself when I'd have a conversation that wasn't in alignment with what I wanted to bring into my life, what any kind of like depreciative conversation, any kind of like negative, you can't, you won't, you'll never narrative. I didn't know that there was other conversations that could be had in our head. And I didn't know that it all starts with the way that we talk to ourselves that dictates how we show up in the world. And so these are like all like light bulb epiphanies for me. And now are like the cornerstone of everything that I believe in. The first conversation for anything that I want to achieve, even if it's like getting out of bed, starts with the mindset that I set forth.
I know. I really think that all of this should be taught in schools.
It will be. It will be.
Yes, it will be with the bio codes, right?
With the bio codes, and we're bringing the Miracle Morning to schools across America. We just did a pilot program for 2,500 students with Anisha, Jamila, and Dr. Rocks. And now we're doing a pilot program with like 100,000 students in the fall.
That is amazing. And that's something that we can tell our listeners, hey, if they have any connections, or we can connect people to spread the word and get this into the schools, that would be amazing. Now, when you were going through all this, when you were young, did you miss school? Like, or were you homeschooled? I'm just curious.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. This is kind of a funny story. Yes, I missed a ton of school. And one time I was talking to someone and they mentioned having a perfect attendance record. And I literally said, "What's that?" I was like, it was a mind-blowing moment where for the first time in my entire life, I realized that not everybody, I thought, like at that point, I thought that everybody had the same challenges and everybody missed school a lot and everybody was sick with their own things. And then I met this guy and he said he'd never missed a day of school in 18 years. And
wow.
I didn't even have words. And then in that moment, I recognized just how different my childhood was, just how many specialists, how many, like, he was like, "I haven't been to a doctor in like 4 years." Like, what are you talking about? And it was like on a day that there was like an in-service day. So I didn't even have to miss school. And I was like, "Do you know, I see 3 doctors a week? Like, what are you talking about?" It was just the awareness that, yes, I missed a lot of school. No, I was never homeschooled, but I did miss a lot of pieces and I always had like tutors and special support.
Because you learned what you needed to learn, because now you're doing the work and you've learned and you've collaborated with your dad and with genetics testing and all that. So you were sought after for your expertise because of what you've gone through, right?
Yeah, actually, that's such an amazing story that I'm a super connector and I've kind of been known in a lot of spaces. Like, if you need a connection, if you really are moving towards something really big and you need that next link in the chain, the connecting piece, so to speak, I'm happy to support if I can. And I got this phone call one day from the chief of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease. He said, "Hey, Brianna, I heard about you." What? He said, "I heard that you're a friend of the rare disease community. And if you can't help me, you'll know someone who can." And I said, "I am a friend of the rare disease community." Wow. And, he kind of shared with me how he heard about me from this nonprofit that I'm a big cheerleader of. And he shared that he had discovered a condition that he thought affected 5% of the population. And he was coming to me to see if I could help him validate or discredit what he discovered. And he was looking for like someone to help introduce him to a genetic testing lab. And I immediately understood that there were so many reasons why he was calling me. And he said, and I think that you might have this condition because you fit every single symptom. You have the allergic reactions, you have the stomach problems, you have the widespread chronic pain, you have the autonomic challenges, you have, a lot of the components that we have discovered within this condition. Do you think that you could help me? And I realized that my super connections and my awareness of how chronic illness and genetics and super connecting could all come together. And so I made some calls, and eventually he and Gene by Gene were able to collaborate to validate that this condition was a thing. And in the last 5 years, we've published or supported the publishing of 36 papers in this in this field. So now it's definitely like a real condition versus just like one NIHers discovery. And it's been wild to see that, whatever level of schooling that you have, we all have superpowers and we can all use them in various ways. And if we choose to.
Right. Well, that's funny. I was about to say, my husband is a football coach, and leading a team is like his genius. It just comes natural. Like he's born to do that. And I was going to ask you, what is your genius? But it looks like connecting is your.
For years and years and years, I would say super connecting, literally high level connections. However, my super zone of genius is allowing people to feel seen and heard in a way that allows them to unlock whatever block was inside of them to come alive. And so when you said that at the beginning, I was like, oh my gosh, that's my real superpower.
Good, I got it.
Well, that's what I want everyone to feel in the clubhouse room.
Well, they do. And that's what's so special. And that's why that room has grown so huge, is that it's the personal touch that you put to it. So I really appreciate all that. And I just have to go back for a second, because you were talking about that you missed school and you met somebody that had perfect attendance. And the only other thing that I could say would relate to that is, having moved 13 times in 26 years, because my husband has a different job like all the time, my son came to me one day and he said, Mom, I just met someone who lived in the same house their entire life. Can you believe that? And that's what's kind of funny. It's like, we think everybody knows what it's like to move around a lot. We think everybody knows what it's like to have these issues. And then you realize that you actually have a unique set of circumstances, and yet they're different. It inspires people who don't have it, and it gives hope to people that can relate to what you were going through. So it's, our mess is our message, right?
And we're all so unique. And it's crazy because like a lot of us are conditioned to think that we're all the same. We should all be the same. Yet it's our uniqueness that really allows for this amazing mosaic, if you will, to be built. And so I love that story by your son.
Well, I love, you talk genetics. I love energy. Obviously, you probably really watch what you eat because of your condition, and nutrition and everything has energy. And I love how the future of medicine is really kind of the advances in science and technology and using Eastern medicine kind of all coming together in a natural way. Do you agree with that, or how do you approach your nutrition and medical?
Yeah, well, I definitely agree with that. And my nutrition and like the way that I approach my health has evolved over the years. I used to be like super strict and super rigid. And I was like, no, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to eat anything. I'm not going to do anything. And what I've learned is that my body is so powerful that it can talk to me. And like, this is like a novel concept, because for years, I mean, obviously my body was telling me things all the time that I was just not listening to. And so now I'm very sensitive. When something happens, I'm able to really identify like what was happening here, and really course correct. Yeah, that probably didn't make me feel well. I'm not gonna drive on that bumpy road. I'm not gonna eat that thing. I'm not gonna, sometimes I'm very sensitive, and even sensitive to things that like seem awesome. Like if I have too much celery juice, I'll throw up. So like I can't have like 16 ounces, but I can have 6 ounces. And so my body is very sensitive. And I think that that's a big blessing, because we're all very sensitive, yet when we aren't listening to our own intuition and aren't listening to like literally our body screaming at us, we might make choices because the doctor said so, because I read it in this cool book, because I heard it on this podcast. But the truth is our bodies know so much more. And so that awareness has come out in the last 5 or 6 years, instead of this like rigidity that I was like, oh, I'm doing these things because it says so. And like sometimes my body wasn't into it. Like at the moment, I really like warm things. Warm. Okay. So if I could have something that was cold or warm, I would for sure choose something warm.
Oh, interesting.
And I don't know. And so I would have a soup versus a salad if I could.
Well, what's so incredible is that really we're all very unique and individual. So what works for you might not work for me, but at the same time, what might work for you now, 5 years ago, will change. So if people could just get present with themselves and listen and trust their own intuition, instead of every doctor going, oh, it's just that, or it's just that. They're doing their best. Doctors are doing their best, but they still they don't have the superpower of your intuition to know. So that's beautiful.
You're literally so spot on. I was like giving you thumbs up, because the truth is, like, my body has evolved, and the things that I needed, like there was a point in my life and I was like, smoothies all day. Like, yeah, because like sometimes it's hard for me to process food. So if it's like blended, it's better. But I evolve, and my gut health evolves, and like what my cells are craving evolves. And that's what's so beautiful about our uniqueness, and our uniqueness in this moment. Like who I was last week is not who I am at this moment, or who I'll be next week or next month. And there's all these different factors. So if we're so rigid in like, I found this thing and this is going to be the thing forever, and I'm never going to explore any other things because this is the thing, it limits our ability to really expand and grow and learn so much more about ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, I know that there are people in our audience that may be struggling right now, whether it's with their health or just certain circumstances. Is there any advice or encouragement you'd like to share with our listeners?
I have lots of advice depending upon the circumstances, but I will say keep shining. The world needs your light. You are unique and beautiful in whatever way that you are showing up right now. And if you believed how amazing you were, like the way that Honor and I believe how amazing you are, you'd probably be able to handle the circumstances that you're in a much different way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, how do people find you? Like if somebody wants to contact you, they're interested in learning more about you, or they want to have you on their podcast because you're such an amazing guest. What's the easiest way for people to reach you?
How do they find me? You can find me in the club with Honor every single day at 7 a.m. Central. But if you want to reach me, you can reach out to me on Instagram. It's Bri Green 1111, BRI Green 1111. Or I have a website, BriannaGreenspan.com.
Awesome.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
And I will have all your information underneath each podcast and on YouTube. So if you can't find it, reach out to me. I'll get you connected. But so what, Brianna, is the next on your horizon? You're always encouraging others to dream big. What is the vision for your future? I know you're focused on, uplifting global well-being and the medical genetics and education field. But is there anything specific that you're working on?
Yeah. Literally right now, I'm working on bringing the Miracle Morning and the Miracle Morning Art of Affirmations, which is my positive affirmations coloring book, and a whole series of curriculum to schools that are in sub-poverty across America. And this is like this crazy thing that just fell in our lap when some principals came to us and said, hey, we think that the Miracle Morning practices can be the key to stopping generational poverty in our school community. And we want to pilot that. And so they did. And the results were well beyond anything that we ever thought was possible. And it was the Clubhouse room that actually sponsored all these schools. Like on the spot, one principal hopped on stage and said this was her vision to bring the Miracle Morning and my book to her school. And then somebody else said, I want to buy that for you. And then somebody else said, me too. And somebody else said, me too. And somebody else said, I'm a principal and I want to do that too. And it just like snowballed. And now we've heard from many other principals that have heard from these three, the results that are happening in their schools. And they've said, hey, we want to bring these practices to our school community in the fall. And so we're going to launch a large scale pilot. And there's two options, whether people want to bring this to their school, they can opt in as an educator or as a principal or as a superintendent or as a school leader to bring this to their school community, or if they want to financially support that effort, because a lot of these schools don't really have the budget for a lot of the things that they need, and like decorating their hallways to look like a beautiful place versus prison. And there's a lot of other factors that I've just now become aware of. So this is like my newest hobby, to be able to support schools that are looking for the support. So like, we're not advertising, we're not going to anyone, but if you come to us, we don't want the answer to be no. And so that's
well, I have like goosebumps. That is, I do. I have goosebumps. That's so amazing. And so anyone listening, if you are connected, if you're in the education field, if you're connected to principals or schools, get in touch, DM me or find Brianna and DM her, because what a great project to hop on board with. So wow, I love that. Well, Brianna, I'd love to end each podcast with the same question for each guest. This podcast is the Honor It All podcast. So what are you choosing to honor today?
I'm choosing to honor my ancestors who paved the way for me to be here right now. And I'm choosing to honor my descendants who are going to be bright lights in the world because of the leadership that I and you and others bring forth.
That is beautiful. Mic drop. Wow. Well, that is it, folks. So what a wonderful way to complete this episode with the talented and beautiful Brianna Greenspan. Thank you, Brianna. And until next time, remember, we are not promised tomorrow, so be present today. It's a gift, and honor it all. Bye, everyone.